Contributions of Muslims to Australia. Muslims of various ethnic groups have contributed to the development of Australia, although they have not received broad recognition for this. The Afghans were the pioneers of the Muslim contribution to Australian life. In the 19th century, the Afghan cameliers were recruited to Australia to assist in the early European exploration of the continent. Camels, with their ability to endure long periods without drinking, were rightly recognized as being the best animal to use in the European exploration of Australia's vast dry interior. The Afghan cameliers participated in many expeditions to explore Australia's outback. They largely controlled the camel transport industry in the late 19th century and played a vital role in the economic development of Australia at the time. From the transport of goods, assistance with laying telegraph and railway lines, to establishing settlements in the outback, the invention of the motor car, however, meant the camels were no longer needed. Due to the end of the need for cameliers and the prejudice against Afghans, which made it difficult for them to be accepted socially, many Afghans had to return home or eke out a living under the harsh regime of the White Australia policy. It was not until the arrival of the Afghan camelier that Muslims started to make some impact, viewed mainly as necessary adjunct to their beast. The role of the Afghans in opening up the interior of the continent to European settlement is only now being fully appreciated. At the time, the fear of racial contamination dominated much of the national consciousness. However, without the Afghans, the exploration of Central Austria would have been impeded. The establishment of the inland telegraph would have been delayed, and many of the inland mining towns would not have survived. It was the Afghans and their camels that made it possible to gain access to the vast interior of the Australian continent. They further proved themselves during the construction of the overland telegraph line in 1870 to 1873, contributing to both the survey and construction work and carrying loads of materials into otherwise impenetrable country. When the Coolgardie gold rush occurred in 1894, the cameliers were quick to move in. The gold fields could not have continued in existence without the food and water they transported. In contemporary Australian life, Muslims from all over the world have helped shape the nation. They have developed trade links between Australia and several Muslim countries, particularly Middle Eastern, and for instance, through the export of meat that has been slaughtered as a special way, often referred as halal meat. These Muslims have opened up new channels for trade between Australia and their countries of the origin. Of the thousands of international students studying Australia, a significant numbers are Muslims from countries such as Malaysia, Indonesia, and Pakistan. They have settled in Australia under the government's skilled migration program after completing studies at their own expenses. Muslims, doctors, engineers, lawyers, scientists, academics, tradespeople, and blue collar workers are participating fully in Australian life. Muslim small business abound in the major cities, for example, in Auburn and Lake Amba, in Sydney and in Brunswick and Coburg in Melbourne. And another my reminder of the role of Muslim play in economic life of Australia. Muslims have promoted interfaith religious dialogue in order to encourage greater mutual understanding between people. They have also been able to provide other Australians with greater knowledge about Muslim cultures in African, Arab, and Asian nations. The Muslim communities have enhanced the debate in Australian society about the interests of the minority groups, which have often had their needs and opinions ignored by mainstream society. Australian Muslims have asserted their desire to be treated equally and to be free from negative stereotypes. Certainly, there is a small number of Muslims who insist that Australian values, culture, and society are foreign to Islam, therefore unacceptable to them. They think that the more Muslims are integrated into Australian society, the less Muslim they are. Their interpretation of Islam emphasizes maintaining a distinction between Islam and anything perceived to have originated outside of Islam. It is important to remember that these opinions belong to a small minority of Muslims, do not represent the mainstream Muslim opinion in Australia. Thank you very much.